OP14 releases this week, and a lot of people are excited about the different cards, decks coming out of this set. Just as we always do, now that we know the set list, we're going to be going over all the different cards within this set, explaining potential combos that you can use, how these brand new decks could fare in the meta, etc. One thing that I will note before we get going though is this is strictly going to be the OP14 set review. In the West, when we get this in January, it's going to include a little bit of EBO4. Out in Japan, that's not going to be the case. Once we get the EBO4 set list, I will go over that here on the channel. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and bag of chips. And because I need to pay rent this month, let's hear more from our sponsor. Listen, if you're itching for a brand new playmat, now is the time to check out Nengarden, the sponsor of this video. Not only do they have brand new pre-orders up on their website for Chaos Crew, Green Fury, and the Absolute Ruler designs, which by the way, are phenomenal. But if you're a fan of Goldie Roger, Nengarden actually put out a new playmat called The Journey's End, showcasing Goldie Roger himself, and you yourself can find his one piece with the possibility of a 1 in 20 chance to get the special wanted playmat. And on top of that, if you're like me and you absolutely prefer cloth mats, Nengarden has officially posted on their site cloth mats for Green Fury, Absolute Ruler, Berserk, and Journey's End. Plus, if you want a ton of other great accessories that aren't just playmats, they've got the King of Hearts t-shirt, matching pin, other pins alongside of it through the whole cake island, and even stickers. Make sure with whatever you want in Nengarden, use my code Atrocious for 8% off. The link to their website is in the description below. Thank you so much for Nengarden for sponsoring the video, and let's get back to that video. Now we're going to be utilizing Cardi Kaizoku's website with these cards. Oh, and by the way, I'm wearing a shirt. Let's just jump straight into it with the first leader, Trafalgar Law. 5 life, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Supernova Hard Pirates type leader. Activate main once per turn. You select 2 of your Supernovas or Hard Pirate type characters and swap the base power of the selected characters with each other during this turn. There's a couple different ways that I feel like a lot of people are going to try to style this deck. One geared more towards aggression, right? Being able to play these characters with rush, being able to hyper aggro your board in a sense, being able to swing with small guys and big guys. Another way that I could see this being built is a more control style, right? A pure battle of the board, characters fighting characters, etc. Especially because now your small characters can swing and force more cards out of hand out of your opponent in a starve method. Deck building can be slightly limited because it is exclusive to Supernova and Hard Pirate cards, especially as mono red, but I'm really curious to see how this deck goes within the meta, if it can compete with the stuff like Bello Betty, Silver's Rayleigh, right? If it wants to go that aggressive route, especially with some of the cards in this set, I think this leader could make some noise. We'll start it off with a rogue though, a 3-cost 2,000 power character, 1k counter Supernova Fallen Monk Pirates. This guy though's got a when attacking, if this character has 5,000 power or more, draw 1 card. Then you can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 base power or less. This card is really interesting to me for a couple different reasons. One, card draw is not something that's very big in red. So you see a lot of times, right, especially in like Enel matchups where they just try to starve you. They try to get you to run out of cards and options on your hand and remove your field. This is a nice way to rejuvenate your hand, but I am more interested in the KOing opponent's character with 3,000 base power or less. Think about this guy, right? A 2,000 power character. You power swap it with like a 5,000 power character, right? Moving into your opponent's turn, a rogue will go back down to 2,000 power. If you think about a lot of the searchers in the One Piece trading card game, many of them are at numbers like 1,000, 2,000, heck, even One Drop Buggy from OP14 is a 3,000 base power character. So oftentimes your opponent may use searchers to swing at this rogue to get it off the field, so then they can focus their leader swings and other big swings at your leader and at your life. This rogue is actually a really nice counter to that style to get rid of those smaller bodies that'll swing into it to force your opponent to use their leader to get rid of a rogue. I think this card's super interesting. We've got Capone Beige, a Supernova Fire Tank Pirate, 1 cost, 2,000 power. This character cannot be KO'd by effects of characters with 5,000 base power or less. I think that this card can be really cool as well, right? Think about the different 5,000 base power or less cards that KO different characters. The first one that I automatically think of is Marcus Mars. Now, I know that isn't exactly because when Jupiter's on the field, right, Marcus Mars is a 7,000 base power character. But especially when you talk about the early stages of the game, right before, Emu is chaining 10 drops, this guy can get some stick value on the field to be able to do that power swap and swing at your opponent's face. Especially since he doesn't have rush, he's a sticky body on the field in that sense. Cavendish is a 2-cost, 2,000 power, 1k counter, Dressrosa, Supernova, Beautiful Pirates type. If this character is 5,000 power or more, this character gains rush. Now, for 2 Dawn and potentially having a rush character on the field is insane value in my opinion. And here's another interesting thing as well. We talked about this Rogue also having an effect of 5,000 power or more. This is 5,000 power in general. If there's hypothetically a Supernova or Heart Pirates type character that is 4,000 base power on your side of the field, if you power swap that onto this Cavendish and then attach 1 Dawn onto Cavendish, he's then at 5,000 power, and so he can go in and swing with rush. More than likely, I think when you power swap onto Cavendish, he's going to eclipse that 5,000 mark without any Dawn attachments on its own. But I just wanted to bring that up now that we had these repeat 5,000 power gain this extra effect characters where there's some really interesting combos potentially that you can utilize with this. We've got Killer here, a 1-cost 1,000 power, 1k counter. Activate main once per turn. You give a rested Dawn card to one of your leaders or one of your characters. I don't see this card being like insanely good right now. I mean, the Trafalgar Law does not have a Dawn ×1 activate main kind of effect. And there's not too many Supernova or Heart Pirates kind of characters that could do it. But if you want, you can get the exact value that you use to be able to play this character, and then later in a future turn it can be an attacking body. I wouldn't put it high on the totem pole in deck building, I think, but it's definitely a curious card. Sachi Penguin, a 2-cost 2,000 power, 1k counter, Heart Pirates type character. When attacking, if this character is 5,000 power or more, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power during the turn. This is kind of what I was talking about in terms of a board control style where you're an absolute brawler kind of deck. This could be a huge swing on minusing power on a character, right? We're going to talk about some big bodies here shortly in the next couple cards to where this Sachi Penguin can switch into like a 8,000, 10,000 power character and then be able to battle against another character and minus 2,000 power on it. This guy being Heart Pirates though, I think is a little bit weird for the deck as much as I want to put it in, and I'll tell you about that in a second. We've got Jewelry Bonnie, 6-cost 7,000 power, 2k Supernova Bonnie Pirates type. And then also as a vanilla, but a 1k counter vanilla, a 3/5 Scratch Minapoo of Supernova and On-Air Pirates. I think that these vanillas could somewhat work in the deck in terms of playing, right? Because you want to be able to power swap as soon as possible. Thinking about getting on the odd curve, a 1-cost Capone Gang Beige on your turn 1, and then turn 2, playing Scratch Minapoo, swap the power of the different characters, and now this guy swings 5 without any Dawn investment. You can immediately go a 5/5. I think the vanillas are really interesting for this archetype. Now, Trafalgar Law is the first SR we'll talk about, a 9-cost 10,000 power Supernova Heart Pirates type. He's got 2 different effects. The first one, he's got rush, just a 10,000 power rush. There are a lot of 10,000 power bodies I feel like that have rush lately. But on opponent's attack once per turn, you can trash 2 cards from hand, and if you do, you can select one of your characters. Swap the base power of the selected character with the base power of your leader during this turn. Think about having this 9-cost Trafalgar Law out onto the field. You go ahead and swing 10,000 power, yada, 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 all that stuff. Pass into your opponent's turn. Your opponent immediately goes into a 9,000 power swing at your leader, right? A 5,000 power leader. You can go ahead, pitch 2 cards from your hand, swap the base power of Trafalgar Law, your SR, with your leader, making your leader a 10,000 power character during the battle to be able to get out of that 9,000 power attack. And by the way, it's only for the battle, so this Trafalgar Law, your SR, goes back to a 10,000 power body in case your opponent wants to start swinging at it. This SR is so cool, and I think that's why a rogue is so important in this deck, right? Especially if you got to pitch 2 cards from hand. That's very costly for a red deck, in my opinion. You're going to want some card draw. Basil Hawkins, a 1-cost, 2,000 power kind of character with a 1k counter. Supernovas, Hawk, and Pirates. On KO, look at the top 5 cards of your deck and play up to 1 Supernova type character with 2,000 power or less other than Basil Hawkins. Place the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. As literally every single body on your board is an attacking threat, your opponent's going to want to KO this Basil Hawkins. And so if they do, great, you'll be able to search through your deck, maybe play a Killer, maybe play a Cavendish, maybe play a Capone Beige, or maybe play an Aru. You just can't play Sachi Penguin because he's not a supernova, he's a hard pirates. You kind of see what I mean? We've got Bartolomeo here, a 2,000 counter, 2-cost, 2,000 power character. He's got a Dawn ×2 ability. This character gains blocker. He is a supernova, so has some good synergy with your deck. The activate main is only on your turn, so it's not like you can go ahead, swap the power on a block to make this like a 7,000 power blocker. But once again, synergizes well with something like Basil Hawkins, right? Be able to get this guy onto the field, even though he doesn't have blocker until you Dawn ×2, which could synergize well with Killer, I guess. You've got Beppo here, a Minx and Heart Pirates type character, so it doesn't work in the Supernova part, but still works with your Trafalgar Law leader effect. A 2-cost, 2,000 power, 1k counter. When attacking, if this character is 5,000 power or more, give up to 2 rested Dawn cards to your leader or one of your characters. I think this card is cool, although I think similar to Sachi Penguin's, a little bit hard to implement. Giving 2 Dawn cards to a leader or character could be so good, right? Being able to swing 7,000 power with leader, or maybe off of the power swap, give some rested Dawn to a character for another swing at lead or on the board. Now, Luffy is a 1-drop supernova searcher, right? Looking at the top 5, adding a supernova to your hand other than Luffy, put the rest of the bottom of the deck in any order. But on top of that, it has a when attacking, right? Because your Trafalgar Law will be able to power swap and probably give this 0 power character the ability to attack. Give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 1,000 power during the turn. Again, going in with this idea of potentially battling board and KOing different characters. This SR Luffy is definitely a staple, I feel like, in the Trafalgar Law deck, and definitely a big threat to your opponent. There's a 4-cost, 5,000 power, 1k counter Supernova Kid Pirates Eustace Captain Kid is a blocker and also holds the on play. If your leader has the Supernova's type, you can play a red character with 2,000 power or less from your hand. Once again, there's a lot of these 2,000 power characters in this set. Speaking of which, though, on play, if you go ahead and use that, you can put this Cavendish down onto the field on curve, immediately power swap with Trafalgar Law's leader effect because Eustace Kid is a 5,000 power character. So now your Cavendish is 5,000 power and can go ahead and attack. And by the way, you still have a blocker on the field. This card also pretty good. But this card is one of the more generically good red cards that I've seen in the pre-builds heading into this format. It's a 7-cost, 8,000 power Rornora Zoro. He is, by the way, Supernova and Straw Hat Crew. He's a 7-cost, 8,000 power Rush, another Rush character, but on top of that, has a when attacking of giving your opponent's character minus 1,000 power during the turn. So once again, another minus 1,000 power attack to potentially help control the board. And by the way, we're not done yet. X-Drake is a 5-cost, 7,000 power brick, but he's a Navy Supernova Drake Pirates character. On opponent's turn once per turn, if your Supernova's type character would be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you may give your leader minus 2,000 power during the turn instead. And he's got a Dawn ×1 when attacking. You give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power during the turn. Wow, it's like there's a card right here that can give a Dawn attachment to X-Drake to be able to use this for some power minusing. Also being able to have a protection effect on so many of your Supernovas, since your deck is pretty much always going to be a Supernova deck, like through and through, including himself as well. It may be worth just to sacrifice 2,000 power on your leader. I think the only thing that you got to worry about with X-Drake, if you do decide to play him in your list, is that X-Drake can minus the leader, right, to be able to save one of these characters like himself potentially, right, because of stuff like Marcus Mars tries to remove base cost, Jozu trying to bounce that back into hand. You may just be baited into making your leader a 3,000 power leader for the rest of your turn to make the math for lethal a lot easier, but definitely a very good card, I feel like. Starting off with the events, we have Shambles, a 3 cost on main. Select 2 of your opponent's characters with 9,000 base power or less. You swap the base power of the selected characters with each other during this turn. Think of something like Ace. Ace going ahead a lot of times of playing 1-drop Ezo Searchers, 2,000 power Garps, and stuff as big as 12,000 power Newgates, 13 power Gold D Roger. For 3 Dawn, you can go ahead and swap the different powers of those characters. Swapping a blocker like Newgate from 12,000 power all the way down to like 2,000 power at the most because of Garp. It's for the entire turn, so you can tell your opponent, okay, if you're going to block with this Newgate, he's definitely leaving the field. And because it's only during the turn, the Garp that you made 12,000 power is going to go all the way back down to 2,000 power. This event, I think, is really, really cool. And it's also nice that Zoro costs 7, so on a 10 Dawn turn, you can go ahead, Shambles the different power, get Zoro in there for an 8,000 power rush, and then maybe power swap him with something like the 1-drop Luffy that you played on the previous turn to get another 8,000 power swing. This deck is sick. We've got a 1-cost time for a counterattack event for Trafalgar Law, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Supernovas, and Hard Pirates. It's a counter event. If there is a character with 8,000 power or more, up to one of your leaders or character cards gains 4,000 power during the battle. The biggest thing to note here is that it says if there is a character with 8,000 power or more. It doesn't have to be your character, it doesn't have to be an opponent's character, it could be any character on the field. Even something like Red Green Smoker, which boosts the Navy and Punk Hazard type characters in power, it also counts along that too, even something like Red Black Sabo. This card also has a trigger on it of playing a red character card with 2,000 power or less from your hand, which, by the way, is like a bunch of the freaking deck. This event could definitely be cheeky. The final red card that we've had is a 1-cost searcher event for Straw Hat Crew and Supernovas. You look at the top 4, reveal one of those, add it to your hand, place the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. Especially because this looks for Straw Hat Crew and Supernova, there's a potential idea alongside this deck that maybe you play some other impactful Straw Hat Crew cards like Rush aggro characters, 2Ks, because they're searchable off of this if you decide to play it. The Luffy, though, specifically only finds Supernova, so I think that's something to know. Moving on into the green cards, we've got Dracul Mihawk. Dracul Mihawk is a 5,000 power slash type character, 7 Warlords of the Sea exclusively in typing, 5 life. He's got 2 different effects. The first one's pretty simple. If your opponent's leader has the slash attribute, the leader gains plus 1,000 power. That's a continuous effect. So if your opponent is playing something like Shanks, Zoro Sanji, Green Zoro, this Dracul Mihawk is going to be a 6k leader through the entire game. And he's got an activate main once per turn. You may rest one of your cards. If there's a character with cost of 5 or more, set up to 3 of your Dawn cards as active. Then you cannot play character cards from your hand during this turn. Right, we're starting to see a lot more of these effects in the last couple sets of restand a bit of Dawn, and there's this extra condition that you now cannot do, especially because the slash green package has been getting so good the last couple sets. Dracul Mihawk is an immediate contender of people's minds within the meta, especially because you can also reutilize Dawn. A lot of people are excited about this guy, and guess what? You can rest one of your cards. It can be a searcher character card, it could be a Dawn card, it could be a leader card, or it could be be a stage. We'll talk about that more here in the rest of this set. I'm so excited for this leader. The first card we're going to talk about is one that made so much noise online when it was first revealed. A 6-cost 7,000 power / 1k counter Isho. He is Dressrosa and Navy. Your turn. When this character is rested, you may add one card from the top of your life to your hand. If you do, up to one of your opponent's rested characters or stages will not become active in your opponent's next refresh phase. Everybody screamed tears of joy when this got announced because this is the counter to Emu, or at least is a counter that you can utilize with Emu. Think about the amount of times that this character could be rested, right? Attacking is a way to be rested, so every time that you attack with this character, you can go ahead and use this effect off. You could freeze the empty throne. Your opponent now can't cheat out any of their 10-cost elders. You could also rest the card because of Dracul Mihawk's leader effect, right? Play it on curve on 6 and then immediately go in with your leader effect to restand 3 Dawn and be able to attack 8,000 power with leader. Although I don't think that this is a absolute nail in the coffin for Emu or anything like that, I do acknowledge that Bandai is definitely trying to make some things to be able to handle the deck, so then they don't need to like do anything crazy to it. And reminder, there is no official announcement of any sort of ban list update or anything like that. Everything that you're hearing right now is speculation. It is just people trying to get clicks. I will let you know when there is official announcements and information. Like, comment, subscribe. We've got a 4-cost Film Straw Hat Crew Usopp here, 5,000 power, 1k counter. At the end of turn, if your leader has the Film or Straw Hat Crew type, set up to 2 of your Dawn cards as active. This is a really interesting card for the Film package. You talk about Uta. Setting up to 2 Dawn cards as active can be so nice for the counter events with the different green decks. This may be one that you see sprinkled in, probably mostly for Uta, I think, if anything, but who knows, we could see more in the future. Kiku Nojo is a 1-cost 2,000 power 2k counter character. At the end of turn, you set the character as active, it being a slash type Wano character, Akaza 9. I think that this has really interesting synergies with Dracul Mihawk, right? Dracul Mihawk rests a card every single turn, especially since this Kiku Nojo at the end of turn stands as active. If you don't want to consistently utilize your Dawn right in the stages of the game, you can consistently use this if you're not facing a removal based deck like cost or power or whatever, and just constantly restand this as active. It's also a searchable slash 2k, which is pretty good in the slash builds, I think. We've got this 4-cost 5,000 power Kinemon 1k Land of Wano Akaza 9 typing as well. On play, set up to 3 of your Dawn cards as active. Then you can't play any character cards on your field during this turn. On KO, you also rest one of your opponent's cards. Once again, cards is Dawn, leaders, characters. This card is really good, and I see it as an auto inclusion in Dracul Mihawk, right? Being able not only to utilize that on play and regurgitate Dawn, because remember, Dracul Mihawk has a condition of requiring a 5-cost or more on the field. So maybe on a 4 Dawn turn, you can't play this down and then use Dracul Mihawk's leader effect. So they basically give it to you a turn early on this Kinemon. This card's really cool. I like this a lot. Now, Kuro support in OP14 wasn't on my bingo card, but here we are. 7-cost, 8,000 power slash type, East Blue Black Cap Pirates type character. On play, if your leader is Kuro, you can play an East Blue type character with a cost of 6 or less from your hand. For all the Kuro fans out there, rejoice. It's a way to swarm the field. It's a way to get powerful bodies out onto the field, and it's easily searchable, right? Because you probably run that 2-cost Nami searcher that finds East Blue cards, so you're going to get the combos going with this deck. Unfortunately, I don't see it anywhere outside of Kuro, because, well, your leader has to be Kuro. Maybe a Kuro leader in the future? We've got Kozuki Odin, a 4-cost 5,000 power slash type character, a 2k on opponent's turn. If this character is rested, gains 2,000 power. He's a Land of Wado Kozuki clan. This could be really nice, right? Although I don't see this as like an incredible card in terms of something that you want to play on the field, at least when it's rested, it's a hard body to remove if it's not a cost-based focused opponent. I could definitely see this card being in the Dracul Mihawk deck. Now, this 7-cost 9,000 power East Blue 4 Emperors red-haired pirate Shanks. Let me tell you about this. Your turn, when this character is rested, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with 7,000 base power or less. Once again, we talked about the different ways that characters can get rested. This is the same thing. And think about 7,000 base power or less. What are some really good cards, specifically blockers, that you'd want to rest that are 7,000 base power or less? The boogeyman of the format. But not only that, when this character is rested on opponent's turn, give all of your opponent's characters minus 1,000 power. The Conqueror's Hockey is crazy in this card. I see this card just as much as an auto inclusion in something like Dracula Mihawk, right? Being a searchable character, something you can play with Slash. Might even be something too with like Zorro, but I think Dracula Mihawk is probably the best because you can force things to be rested on curve. We've got Johnny here in East Blue, 2 cost, 2,000 power Slash type 1k counter. On your turn, when this character is rested, you can KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 2 or less. I feel like chum blockers aren't really big in this format, but if there's ever a format where chum blockers are a big deal, once again, like we used to be a couple sets ago, this guy could definitely see some limelight. For now, though, he's not really that great. Now, Toshigi, I've seen this card be generically used in a couple different decks. This is a good rare you're going to want to get. A 5 cost, 6,000 power Slash, 1k counter Navy type. Has 2 different effects. One on your opponent's turn. If this character would be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you may rest one of your cards instead. Again, any card. And on top of that, in the activate main once per turn, if you rest 2 of your cards, this character gains 2,000 power until the end of your opponent's next end phase, making it a 5 cost, 8,000 power character. That's a deadly body on the field that is really hard to remove by effects, especially because it becomes an 8,000 power character on your opponent's turn. This is just a good card, especially if you've got some extra Dawn lying around, or maybe you have some one-drop searchers that you don't want to utilize, or maybe a stage that we'll talk about here soon. This Toshigi, definitely a banger. We've got Shaka and Pell, just generic Alabasta 2k counter. Slash type though. And Nami, this card also broke the internet when it was announced. A 4 cost, 2,000 power film and Straw Hat Crew type character with 1k counter on top of it. So you may be thinking, oh my gosh, 4 cost, 2,000 power and a 1k counter blocker. What is this card's other effect? And let me tell you, on play, you rest up to 2 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 8 or less. Wow, that's pretty good. This card seems pretty viable to include in some decks. But wait, there's more. Then set up to 5 of your Dawn cards as active at the end of this turn. This is a huge card in my opinion in something like Red-Green Luffy, right? Red-Green Luffy being able, with Dawn as active at the end of your turn, heading into your opponent's turn, you can use each one of those Dawn as 2k counter through your leader effect. Essentially, this Nami makes it to where you have 10,000 worth of counter into your opponent's turn. That's crazy. And by the way, it's a blocker, so if you can counter out or maybe you don't want to use your Dawn, well, you just block. And it rests 2 8 costs on the field. This is definitely one of those late game characters, right? Activating more Dawn than it's utilized to use its cost. So you got to make sure to get the full effect of this character, that you play something else on top of it afterwards before you end your turn. We've got Human Drill. Is that really what this is? Animal and Muggy Kingdom. 3 cost, 4,000 power, 2k counter Slash type your turn. When this character is rested, you rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Again, very good against Marcos in the Ace deck. Very good against Warcuries in the Emu deck. This could be a decent utility 2k in the Dracula Mihawk deck, I think. We've got Perona here, a 5 cost, 6,000 power, Muggy Kingdom, Thriller Bark Pirates, 1k counter character. Has 2 different effects. 1 in on play of up to 2 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less cannot be rested until the end of your opponent's next turn. You know what I was talking about on the Shanks on the E show of how characters can be rested, that same thing applies to your opponent's side of the field. So saying that, oh my gosh, no matter what, these characters cannot be rested is already like a good deal. You can prevent attacks, you can prevent blocks. Crazy. You can even prevent Dracula Mihawk's effect in the mirror match. But on KO, if you rest one of your cards, you can play up to one green character card with cost of 5 or less from your hand in its place. Now, a good 5 cost, you say, wow, look at that, Toshigi, a very good 5 cost. Kinemon even, a good 4 cost. And that doesn't even include stuff like the Toshigi that we got in OP12, something like Cavendish. There's so many good cards that you can utilize with this, and especially in the Perona deck, right? Green, black Perona Copers rise up, you got a new card. You can go ahead and play out something like Ryuma or whatever to be able to KO different characters. Good SR. Luffy is a 3 cost, 3000 power, 1k counter film Supernova Straw Hat Crew type character. Your turn, all of your Straw Hat Crew characters with the base cost of 4 or more gain 1000 power. And then on top of that, once per turn, if a Straw Hat Crew type character would be KO'd by your opponent's effect, you may rest one of your characters instead. This could also be like a really cool card in Uta, right? Uta with all the film is primarily a Straw Hat Crew kind of deck, and most of those cards I feel like are 4000 power or more, or at least a good chunk of them are. So gaining that plus 1000 power can be so good on the offensive, and since once again a lot of them are Straw Hat Crew, protection effect. You can just rest the Luffy, little 3000 power character guy. Yosaku, a 2 cost 2000 power 1k counter slash kind of character. When this character is rested on your turn, up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 4 or less will not become active in the opponent's next refresh phase. Once again, just a great card in some specific matchups to say, oh, I'm going to stop that 4 cost right there. I think this might have a little bit more value than Johnny right between the two of them, but I think based on the meta, they could be good within their own right. Now going into the events, the 1 cost Strive to Surpass Me Roronoa Zoro. It's a 1 cost counter event where you rest one of your cards additionally, and one of your leader character cards gains 4000 power during the battle. By the way, the trigger rests a character card with 7000 base power or less. Remember attaching Dawn to your characters preemptively before swinging to try to get them out of a power range like Mole Pistol? Well, that doesn't matter because this card deals with base power. It definitely kind of stinks that you have to rest an additional card though on top of it, but Green's got some pretty good events, especially because we have For Fun, an East Blue 7 Warlords of the Sea 1 cost event. It's your typical event that has 2 different effects, one on the main phase, one on the counter phase, the counter being plus 3000 power to your leader during a battle. And on the main phase, if you rest 3 additional cards, KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with 7000 base power or less. Pretty solid for 3 cards. But there's another 1 cost event that is the counter and main phase thing, plus 3000 power counter for your leader during a battle. I never bother to remember the Faces of Trash. On the main phase, if you rest 2 additional cards, you draw 1 card, replace this in your hand, and then you rest one of your opponent's characters with 7000 base power or less. Imagine doing this to rest the character and then go ahead and use For Fun right after that to KO it. It is a pretty hefty combination, but I hope you're starting to see kind of what Dracula Mihawk can do. And then with the 1 cost stage, Coffin Boat, East Blue 7 Warlords of the Sea. On play, if your leader is Dracula Mihawk, draw 1 card. And then at the end of turn, if your leader is Dracula Mihawk, you can set up to one of your Dawn cards as active. Right, perfect to be able to play Strive to Surpass Me, Roronoa Zoro, or one of these other counter events. This stage is also really good because stage removal is not really present in the game at all, so you can constantly go ahead and rest this stage as part of your effects for your various different leaders, characters, events, etc. It's just funny in the mirror match though, you could play like Isho and you could like nullify the stage resting every single turn. I don't know if it's worth it, but like you could. Now let's talk about the blue cards first with Jinbei. Jinbei, a 5 life Fishman, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Sun Pirates type character. Activate main, you may trash one card from your hand and give up to 2 Arrested Dawn cards to one of your Fishman or Merfolk type leaders or character cards. I really like Jinbei. I like the idea of this, right, as reutilizing a lot of your Dawn. My biggest thing about this is you try to utilize your leader effect in most turns, and so you got to get rid of a card, but also on top of that, you need to be able to counter out of attacks at life and on your characters to keep them on the field. So Jinbei, I feel like, is going to really need some draw power in order to be impactful in the meta. Boa Hancock is a yellow and blue 7 Warlords of the Sea Kuja Pirates type leader, 5,000 power, has 2 different effects, one on your opponent's turn. When you play a character, draw 1 card. Pretty simple, but also pretty abstract, because more often than not, I feel like in the One Piece trading card game, you're not playing characters on your opponent's turn. But as a partially yellow deck, let me tell you. Boba also has a Dawn ×1 once per turn that when your Amazon Lily or Kuja Pirates type character with 5,000 base power or more is KO'd, your opponent adds 1 card from the top of their life to their hand. So especially when your opponent tries to board control, right, KO one of those characters, in the later stages of the game when your Boa Hancock is slamming down 6, 7, 8,000 power bodies and you're trying to get rid of them, whether that's through battle or effects, you better be ready to take life. This Boa Hancock, I feel like, is really interesting, and there's a lot of cool cards in both blue and yellow that can work alongside it. And then when we get EBO3 in February, just about a month before this is set to release in the West, there's even more stuff that you can add to it. I think Boa Hancock is going to be impactful in the meta in the East day 1, but in the West it might need a little bit of time to catch steam. Let's talk about Arlong though. 1 cost, 3,000 power character on play. If your leader is the Fishman type, you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal 1 card with a cost of 2 or more and add it to your hand and place the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. Now, he's a 1 cost, 3,000 power character, perfect synergy for being able to get 2 Dawn and be a 5,000 power character through Jinbei's leader effect. It doesn't help when your opponent's leaders are 6,000 power, right, like Ace, but against stuff like Zoro, Emu, Nami, Boa, all these different OP14 leaders, it's pretty good to be able to look through your deck, grab something, and then swing big. We've got Aladdin, I think is how you say it, Merfolk and Sun Pirates type, 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1k counter character. On play, you play a Fishman or Merfolk type character with cost of 3 or less from your hand, and on KO, draw 1 card, right? An interesting way to replenish the hand and also put pressure on the field. You can go ahead and play out this Arlong to grab a card. Now, the thing that you got to be careful about this, and that I actually should have mentioned on Boa Hancock as well, these go hand in hand. Both of these different cards don't stop bottom decking or don't get their effects off with stuff like bottom decking or bouncing back to hand. So especially with Adeline here being a 4 cost is a perfect candidate for Jozu. Now we have Timu Edward Newgate. Now I say Timu Edward Newgate because the first time that I saw this card, I thought of the meme of like, oh mom, I want 10 cost Whitebeard from OP13. She's like, no honey, we have 10 cost Whitebeard from OP13 at home. And it's this guy. He's an 8 cost, 8,000 power, 1k counter blocker. On play, reveal 1 card from the top of your deck. If that card's type includes Whitebeard Pirates, draw 2, trash 1 from your hand. Now, before you go typing up into the comments being like, Jake, you're a freaking idiot, I understand that this is meant for something like the Whitebeard and Ace starter deck leader, the mono blue one. And it's definitely a nice card from it, right? Being able also to know the top deck because of your various effects, right? Manipulating the top cards and always doing that draw 2, trash 1 seamlessly. It's definitely meant for that. I just, again, when I saw it, I just immediately thought of the 10 cost Newgate and was like, this is the off-brand version of him. We've got Kurobi here, a 3 cost, 3,000 power, 1k counter, Fishman Sun Pirates type. When a card is trashed from your hand by your effect, this character gains rush during the turn with an on-KO effect of draw 1 card. This card is also really nice in Jinbei, right? Because Jinbei, trashing a card from hand to be able to give 2 Dawn somewhere, can immediately give 2 Dawn onto this Kurobi, and now you have a 5,000 power rush swing for 3. By the way, it has counter on him too. This is a nice card, and once again, on KO, you refresh the hand a little bit. Definitely a cool one. Koala, a 2k counter, 2 cost, 0 power, Full Shout Island type character. Activate main, you trash the character, and up to one of your Fishman or Merfolk type leaders or characters gains 2,000 power during the turn. This is an interesting 2k because it's not Fishman or Merfolk, and since you have to activate main, trash the character, you got to pay 2 Dawn to put it down, use the activate main to be able to give that power when you could have just kept the 2k in your hand and given the Dawn to 2k power. This is a really interesting card. I don't know how good it is, especially because it's not like Kurobi works with this. You're not trashing a card from your hand while using this activate main. You're trashing a card from field. So I don't know. We'll see. Shirahoshi here is a 4 cost, 0 power, 1k counter blocker. On play, you draw 1 card and then you play a Fishman or Merfolk type character with cost of 3 or less from your hand. We'll get into more of these 3 cost or less Merfolk Fishman type characters soon, but being able to replace itself and draw 1 card before you play something down, you could draw the exact card that you need to play down. Definitely can be nice to get the field going. We've got Shiryu here and Impel down. I thought he was a Blackbeard pirate guy. Anyways, don't spoil it. I'm not caught up. He's an 8 cost, 10,000 power / Impel down type character. On play, return up to 1 character to the owner's hand, then trash all your cards from your hand. This is definitely, if you do not know, Emporio Ivankov coded, right? Emporio Ivankov at the end of turn having different combos with Ivankov, Inazuma to draw extra cards and flow through your entire deck. This can remove literally anything on the field. It can be your card, it could be your opponent's card. Think about if you're playing like a green opponent and they play like 9 cost Zoro, right? That is a body that you immediately have to answer because it's going to swing like 100,000 times. Well, with Shiryu, you can remove it right off the field, and by the way, you can trash your hand, try to find some new cards. This card's kind of cool. But there's another 8 cost, 10,000 power character. It's Jinbei. Jinbei, Fishman, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Sun Pirates. When a card is trashed from your hand by your effect, this character gains Rush during the turn, similar to Kurobi. Guess what? That works really well with the Jinbei leader effect, I'll say it. But on play, if you rest 2 of your Dawn cards, you can draw 2 cards. Then you can return a character with a cost of 7 or less to the owner's hand. To be able to get this on play effect, you definitely need to be on a 10 Dawn turn, and I think that's designed very purposefully. This is the kind of draw support that I think is very good in Jinbei, right? Because for the cost of just paying 1 character down on the field, you can net 1 card through Jinbei's draw, and then using the leader's leader effect, you're basically a net 0. And by the way, it's also worth noting that this activate main does not have a once per turn label. So if you wanted to, you could rest all 10 Dawn, trash 5 cards from here and give 10 rested Dawn anywhere you'd like. And by the way, he gets Rush. This is definitely a really cool card. On play, we have Chu, a 1 cost, 3,000 power character. If your leader is the Fishman type, draw 1 card. This is a good one in my opinion, right? It basically makes your deck like a 46 card deck, right? Adds the consistency. And guess what? He's another one of those 1 cost, 3,000 power characters that synergizes perfectly with your leader effect to be able to swing 5 after you use leader effect. Good card. But we're not done yet on the 1 cost, 3,000 power characters because Hachan here, Dawn ×2 on KO, draws 1 card. So kind of like the opposite of Chu, right? Chu is on play, entering the game. Hachan is leaving the game. And once again, perfect synergy with Jinbei because not only can you swing 5,000 power with this Hachan, but because it's 2 Dawn that you're attaching to Hachan and Hachan gets KO'd, he replaces himself in the hand. We've got Vista here on the Whitebeard Pirates, a 3 cost, 4,000 power blocker, 1k counter. Opponent's turn. If you have 7 or less cards in your hand, this character's base power becomes the same as your leader's base power. So we see something like Goldie Roger, right? A 7,000 power leader. We see something like Ace being a 6,000 power leader. Oh, don't mind if I do. I'm going to go ahead and swap the power if I got a moderately low hand size. Or I guess I should say not very large hand size. Cool card. Just don't really know where it fits. Probably, if I had to take a guess, in the Ace and Newgate deck, maybe something like Marco. We've got Fisher Tiger here, 6 cost, 7,000 power, 1k counter, strike type. On play, if your leader is the Fishman type, draw 3 cards. Just draw 3. For 1 card, draw 3. It's a +2. But at the end of turn, you trash cards from your hand until you have 5 cards in your hand. So if you were to have 6 cards in your hand, play Fisher Tiger to go down to 5, and then draw 3 to have 8. At the end of turn, you need to pitch 3 cards to be able to go down to that 5. And then in the next turns, even after the turn that you've played this guy down, you need to maintain 5 in your hand, which actually kind of synergizes strikingly well with the leader effect, right? Because this means that before your turn ends, you can preemptively trash a couple cards from your hand to reutilize Dawn onto your Fishman or Merfolk type characters, and then you don't really have to pitch anything at the end of turn because of Fisher Tiger. This card just being a raw draw 3 is so good. We've got the Marco Gang, a 5 cost, 6,000 power, 2k vanilla, and then our final blue character, 3 cost, 5,000 power, 2k counter, Waratsumi, Fishman and Sun Pirates type. He cannot attack though, but if you trash a card from your hand by an effect, this character's effect is negated on the turn. So although I mostly see him in Jinbei deck list just be a searchable 2k, he has the ability, if the time gets tough, to where he can be a 5,000 power attacker on your field so long as you use your leader effect or something of the sort every single turn. I think this is a good card. We've got this 2 cost main event. Don't worry, I'm here. Leave things to me. Fishman, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Sun Pirates type. On the main, all of your Fishman or Merfolk type leader or characters gain 1,000 power during the turn. And by the way, it's got a trigger of draw 2. This could be a decently nice card in the deck, right? Especially when you have a full field that is 5 characters and 1 leader. This 2 Dawn can actually value as 6,000 power in total. And if you happen to get it off life, now just draw 2. I like this. Jinbei also has a 2 cost counter event, Ocean Current Shoulder Throw. This counter event draws 1 card and then gives a leader 3,000 power during the battle. A little bit of an upgrade from the 1 cost events on the counter that we've seen as of late. But this card also has a main phase attached to it. You can rest 3 of your Dawn cards, and if you do, meaning 5 Dawn cards in total to make this play up to one of your Fishman type character cards with cost of 3 or less from your hand, and then return up to one of your opponent's characters with 6,000 base power to their hand. It's not or less, it's strictly 6,000 power. I think this card kind of stinks, but it's cool. I don't know. I feel like if you're going to rest 5 Dawn, you may need to just cheat up maybe a 4 cost character or something. The final card in blue is a 1 cost. Please take me with you. I can be of great help to you. Use it on your main phase. If your leader is Jinbei and you have 2 or less cards in your hand, draw 2 cards. This can be really good if we start to see Jinbei really aggressively utilize his leader effect every single turn and need some draw potential, right? Stuff like Fisher Tigers, stuff like Please Take Me With You can be so good in draw in this game, right? For 7 Dawn in total, you can draw 5 cards, and that doesn't even count something like Sanji's Pilaf to draw 2 more. This also has a trigger of return up to 1 character with cost of 4 or less to the owner's hand. Definitely could be impactful in this meta. All right, halfway through the set review, please, once again, if you made it this far, please like, comment, and subscribe. You've already made it this far. Stick around for a while. We've got my favorite leader in this set, a 5,000 power, 5 life, purple, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Don Quixote Pirates, Don Quixote Doflamingo. Debatably the best base art in the game. I mean, there's been some good ones, don't get me wrong, but this one is so sick. He's only got 1 leader effect, but his leader effect is powerful. On your opponent's attack once per turn, you can Don -1, and if you do, select your leader or one of your Don Quixote Pirates type characters. Change the target of this attack to the selected card. You remember the card, Oh Come My Way? Doflamingo basically has that as a leader effect. Don Quixote Doflamingo is only gonna be as good as the characters that he's redirecting attacks into, so let's meet a couple of the stooges, shall we? First up, we've got Virgo, a 5 cost, 7,000 power brick once per turn if your Don Quixote Pirates type character would be removed from the field of play by your opponent's effect. You may instead return one Dawn card from your field to your Dawn deck instead, a protection effect for your Don Quixote type crew. When attacking as well, you can Dawn -1 to give one of your opponent's characters -2,000 power during the turn. This Punk Hazard Navy Don Quixote Pirates type character is honestly a pretty decent option within the deck to be able not only to get that blanket protection effect for some of the characters that we'll talk about in the future, but also be able to power battle, be able to control the board on your opponent's side, and potentially a 7,000 power leader effect redirect attack into this. Swinging a chum 5, okay, redirected onto my Virgo. We've got Gladius here, a 3-cost 4,000 power 1k counter character. On KO, Dawn -1. You can KO or rest up to one of your opponent's characters with 6,000 base power or less. Especially because most all 6,000 power characters are a higher cost than what Gladius is going to be. That means that the redirect attack into Gladius to KO it could actually be detrimental to your opponent's side of the board because they could lose the board just right then and there. This card, though, I feel like I don't see a lot in the Don Quixote Pirates Doflamingo lists. We've got Sugar. Sugar is a 4-cost 1,000 power 1k counter character, Don Quixote Pirates. On play, add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and set it as active. Wait. It's a searchable Bon Clay. You don't have to play Bon Clay in this deck. But on KO, if your opponent has 6 or more Dawn cards on their field, you can play a Don Quixote Pirates type character with the cost of 5 or less from your hand. There's a couple more that we'll talk about here soon, but that already is Virgo. That's pretty good, especially since Sugar, not necessarily going to be a big attacking threat, being a 1,000 power character, is a great target for your leader effect, right? You get that on play, you immediately get it, and then on the defensive side, you're like, oh, an attack going right at to Sugar. Let me get this on KO effect, play out this other character. And you don't have to Dawn minus for it. Giola here, 3-cost 1,000 power 1k counter character, also has an on KO effect. If you get this character KO'd, I don't know why it was so hard to say that. You can add up to 1 card from your Dawn deck and rest it, and then KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 0 base power. This almost feels like a Trafalgar Law counter, right? Like if red Trafalgar Law was really, really good, this is such an easy way to be able to get rid of the Luffy, right? It like forces your opponent to do the power swapping, but then the other character has 0 power, so you force them to not really be able to use their leader effect at all. And by the way, you get to ramp a Dawn, the Dawn that you Dawn minused. We've got Senor Pink here, a 4-cost 5,000 power 1k counter on KO kind of character. On KO, your opponent returns 1 Dawn card from their field to their Dawn deck. Oh my god, it's a Magellan. But not only that is you can force your opponent to swing at this character, right? You look at this character and you'd be like, oh, a 5,000 power character, he's probably going to stay on the field. No, absolutely not. You can force your opponent's attack to redirect into Senor Pink. And if they're swinging at leader, that means that they have to be swinging at least 5,000 power, which means that I can KO Senor Pink. I think this card's pretty good. We've got Diamante here, a 6-cost 8,000 power 1k counter vanilla, and Dellinger. This is a really good card within the deck. A 1-cost 2,000 power 1k counter Don Quixote Pirates type searcher, but with this searcher, it's an on KO effect. With the on KO, you add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. So if you use your leader effect and you redirect the attack into Dellinger, you Dawn -1, get that Dawn right back. Then you can look at the top 5, reveal a Don Quixote Pirates type card, put it in your hand. So not only does it re-ramp the attack, but also on top of that, you get to search broken busted card. Treble's also a really nice card in this deck. It's a 5-cost 5,000 power 2k counter Don Quixote Pirates type character on opponent's turn once per turn. This effect can be activated when a Dawn card from your field is returned to your Dawn deck. Your leader effect. If your leader has the Don Quixote Pirates type, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. Think about like playing down Treble on a 5 Dawn turn. Your opponent goes into a 6 Dawn turn. You redirect one of your opponent's attack to KO Dellinger. So not only do you get to re-ramp with Dellinger, search the top 5 for a Don Quixote Pirates type card to add to your hand, But on top of that, you actually get to ramp another Dawn card because you Dawn minus. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a combo. This is a super playable 2K, in my opinion, in the Don Quixote Pirates package. Now, we've got a Don Quixote Doflamingo 10 drop, 10,000 power character. And on his on play, you can Dawn -3, and you have two different options that you can utilize. If your leader has the Don Quixote Pirates type, you KO up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 8 or less. Just a blanket KO. Which, by the way, you can get a little bit of that Dawn back if you got a treble on field. But you could also choose this instead. Up to 3 of your opponent's characters with the cost of 7 or less cannot be rested till the end of your opponent's next turn. 3 characters, 7 or less. Emu, turn them all off. No swings. Zoro, don't swing with any of those. Only big bodies around here. This card is so good in the Don Quixote Pirates deck. I want to play this deck so bad. I want to play this Don Quixote Doflamingo. And I know the alternate art, it's just gas. We've got this Buffalo here, a 2 cost, 1,000 power, 1K counter character. This effect can be activated when this character is rested by your opponent's effect. You can return 1 Dawn card from your field to your Dawn deck, and if you do, set this character as active. It's a blocker. Basically, this is a slight counter to green, being able to be a chum blocker who in decks that aren't like KO removing or anything, or like bottom decking / bounce backing. If it's just primarily green decks that you're struggling with, this is a nice chum blocker to have. We've got Pika, a 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1K counter character. At the end of turn, if your leader has the Don Quixote Pirates type, you can add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. That's an end of turn that happens every single turn. So the more that Pika stays on the field, the more that you get to ramp, especially when you talk about something like Don Quixote Doflamingo, which is a Dawn ×3. This is now your way to chain 10 drop Doflamingos, right? Because you get to constantly revamp that Dawn. Good card. We've got Baby 5 as well, part of the Don Quixote Pirates package. A 4 cost, 1,000 power, 1K counter. On play, add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck, set it as active. You have 2 Bon Clays in this deck, in Sugar and Baby 5. Pretty good. But not only that, you have an on KO effect of Dawn -1. You can add 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. It's a heal. It's a Bon Clay that heals. Like, yeah, this deck's got to be, like, okay, at least. It's got to be playable. We've got Machvise? It's a 2K counter, 6 cost, 7,000 power vanilla. Also, Monet here, a 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1K counter. On play, if your leader is the Don Quixote Pirates type, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. Just ramp, forehead. And then another on KO effect, you draw 2, trash 1 from your hand, and then you add 2 Dawn cards from your Dawn deck as rested. So not only are you more than likely Dawn minusing 1 to be able to get this Monet to be KO'd, but you actually get to ramp a Dawn because you're adding 2 back in. I love this card, and I love this deck. Laoji is our final character card within purple and the Don Quixote Pirates package. It's a 3 cost, 4,000 power, 1K counter. On KO, add up to 1 card from your Dawn deck, set it as rested. Then you can give up to one of your opponent's characters -2,000 power during the turn. This could be an interesting card, one not only to be able to re-ramp Dawn on the on KO effect, but be able to force your opponent to not have enough power to be able to swing with one of their characters. We've got Everwhite here, a 1 cost event. It's got the 2 things of the counter being plus 3,000 power to your leader, but on main, you can rest 2 of your Dawn cards, and if your leader is Don Quixote Pirates type, you add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck as rested. Gear 2, baby. Gear 2. We know how good that is. Pentachromatic String is a 2 cost event, a 2 cost counter event for Don Quixote Pirates. Up to one of your leaders or character cards gains plus 4,000 power during the battle. Then, if your opponent has a character with 6,000 power or more, you add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. Could be a really interesting counter event to be able to utilize, right, as a sort of ramp style, like it's to die for in a sense, where like if you fulfill a condition, you get to ramp Dawn. But this counter event. The final purple card that we've got, Bullet String. It's a counter event that costs 2 and Dawn -1. If your leader's the Don Quixote Pirates type, up to one of your leaders or character cards gains 2,000 power during the battle, then that card gains 2,000 power during the turn. So not only is it a plus 4,000 power during the battle, but overall in the turn, it's plus 2,000, making your leader 7,000. This could be an interesting thing if you can consistently get 2 Dawn up as active at the end of turn. Going on to black now, we've got the final 2 leaders of the set. The first one being Crocodile, 7 Warlords of the Sea, Baroque Works, 5,000 power, 5 life character. The first effect: all of your opponent's characters cannot be removed from the field by your effects. Black's identity for a long time in the One Piece trading card game has been removal potential through cost, right? KOing different characters. This Crocodile completely flips it on the script, says, you know what? Can't do that. Mostly because its activate main once per turn says that if you KO one of your characters with a type, including Baroque Works, you give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 10 cost during the turn. Then trash 2 cards from the top of your deck. It would be insane if this leader had the potential to do stuff like Brook, right? 3 cost Brook being able to KO 0 costs, because minus 10 like KOs everything. If you're really curious on how Crocodile is going to be built, I've got a video coming soon showcasing a lot of the OP14 leaders and the deck list that I'm kind of strategizing with at this point, after watching a lot of videos, after watching some tournament gameplay, and a lot of people's thoughts and discussions. So once again, subscribe. You've made it like an hour probably in this video. I think this is a cool leader, and I know a lot of people are excited about it, and I think could get better within time. Now, Gecko Moria already has a black leader, but now has the introduction of a 4-life black-yellow leader. Activate main once per turn. You can KO up to one of your Thriller Bark type characters, and your leader and all of your characters, if you do, get plus 1,000 power during the turn. Nice way to do it if you've got like 1-drop searchers like Victorious Injury or different little chum guys. But also when attacking, if you trash 3 from your hand, you can add 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life. I think more consistently you're trying to utilize your first effect first, right? Trying to give everybody plus 1,000 power during the turn. And the second effect is primarily just used so then you don't lose the game. That's kind of my feelings right now on this deck, especially before we get EBO3. I think this deck really loves a lot of stuff in EBO3. Spider Mice has 2 effects, as is 1 cost 1,000 power Thriller Bark character with 1k counter. On play, trash 3 cards from the top of your deck. It's pretty good. But also on top of that, on KO, you KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a base cost of 1. Specifically looking at Gecko Moria, right, his leader effect says you may KO one of your Thriller Bark type characters, specifically KOing it. When you KO Spider Mice as part of that effect, you activate Spider Mice's on KO effect. So if you've got some pesky Trafalgar Laws running around with these 1-cost characters that end up swinging 5 billion power at you, go ahead, KO them. You've got Oink Chunk here, a 2-cost 3,000 power 1k counter character. I can't wait to find this character in the anime because I'm so curious on the lore. He's got an on KO effect as well. Of all of your Thriller Bark Pirates type characters, gain plus 4 cost till the end of your opponent's next turn. This can be really good with other cost-based removal style decks, and even something like a Jozu, right, in the ace deck. Plus 4 cost is not a little bit. And if you've got a lot of characters that ride somewhere between like the 3 to 5 range, right, that are perfect targets for Jozu's 6-cost removal, this Oink Chuck pushes you to the moon. He's also got a trigger of playing a Thriller Bark Pirates type character with cost of 2 or less from your trash rest. There's plenty of cards, both old and new, that we'll get to later in this that actually work really well with this. I would highly recommend looking up in the Thriller Barks. I mean, you got Cerberus, you got a Noop, some good ones in there. Talking about Baroque Work characters, those, we have Miss Wednesday, a 1-cost 2k counter 1,000 power character with the activate main, trash the character, give up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 0 minus 2,000 power during the turn. So you've got a choice. You can utilize Croc's activate main to KO a Miss Wednesday to be able to minus 10 somewhere and mill 2 cards, or you can use Miss Wednesday's Activate main to trash the character and give -2000 somewhere. This is a good 2k within the deck and one that I see most often, I feel like. And if you've KO'd another character because of the Croc effect, this can be good to do some power battling on the field. We've got Miss All Sunday though, a 7-cost 8000 power Baroque Works type character. On play, if your leader's type includes Baroque Works, you can play a character card with the type including Baroque Works of a cost of 4 or less, and a character card with the type of Baroque Works with the cost of 1 or less from your trash. It's like a Gecko Moria, but instead of 4 and 2, it's 4 and 1, and specific to only Baroque Works. But holy moly, this card gorgeous. Daisuke Enoshima, cooked. This is definitely a good card within the Crocodile deck, especially because we can talk about some other cost 4 and below characters that you definitely want to be including in your list. Do have great synergy with this, especially because you can fill your trash pretty easily with Crocodile, utilizing your leader effect to not only get the character in trash, but also mill some of your deck in the trash, right? Because that's what milling is. You've got Miss Golden Week Baroque Works. On KO, it's a 2k counter. You draw 2 and trash 2. This could be a good one to have, right? Because your leader effect specifically, like Gecko, KOs different characters. You can activate this on KO effect and go ahead, filter out your hand, build up your trash a little bit. Miss Doublefinger is a 5-cost 6000 power Baroque Works character. Crazy hairdo, by the way. If you have 7 or more cards in trash, this character gains 1000 power, and all of your characters with the type including Baroque Works gain +2 cost. Like I kind of said earlier, if you're worried about removal in terms of cost, this Miss Doublefinger could actually get you above a lot of thresholds that you're worried about, especially because it already gives itself +2 cost, right? It can make it a 7000 power character. You've got Miss Valentine here, a 1-cost 1k counter searcher. If your leader is a Baroque Works type, you look at the top 4, find a Baroque Works that's not Miss Valentine, add it to your hand. Typical 1-drop searcher. Good card. Miss Merry Christmas here is a 1-cost 2000 power character with a 2k counter. On KO, if your leader has the Baroque Works type, draw 1 card, then KO up to one of your opponent's stages with a cost of 1 or less. I think this is funny that this has stage removal potential. Plus, the ability to draw 1 card also gives you an advantage to replace itself in the hand if you're trying to dig for a specific something, or if your emu opponent plays out Mary Joie, or maybe your Dracul Mihawk plays the Coffin Boat, your Sabo plays the Rev Army HQ. There's a lot of good 1-cost stages. You could just get rid of it. KO it. I like that the term is KOing an opponent's stage and not trashing an opponent's stage. So stages are like bodies. You've got Ryuma here, a 3-cost 5000 power Land of Wano Thriller Bark kind of character with an on KO effect of draw 2, trash 2. Just another filter and build up trash kind of guy. He's also got a trigger of playing a Thriller Bark type character with cost of 4 or less from your trash as rested, which is a lot of Thriller Bark, right? Talk about all the Peronas that we've had, talk about Ryuma, and maybe even some more because this isn't color restricted. We'll talk about some yellow ones later. We've got a Mr. 1 Daz Bones. He's a 5-cost 6000 power character. He's got a conditional effect of if there is a character with cost of 0 or a character with cost of 8 or more, this character can attack characters on the turn which it's played, giving it a pseudo rush. Then on play, you can rest one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 0. So especially if you utilize Croc's effect, -10 somewhere on the field, you can go ahead, play out Mr. Dazbones to immediately rest that character and then swing 6000 power into it because it's a cost 0 character. Definitely could be good with some aggression, but I don't generally see this card played in a lot of Crocodile lists. This card though, I see a lot in Crocodile lists. This Mr. 2 Bon Clay, a 4-cost 5000 power character. On KO, you play up to 1 character card with the type including Baroque Works and a cost of 5 or less other than Bon Clay from your hand or trash, giving it the flexibility where in the early game, if it gets removed, you can do something from hand, or in the late stages of the game when your trash has been built up, you can play various characters out onto the field. This, in my opinion, very good card. We've got Mr. 3 here, 4-cost 6000 power Baroque Works. Opponent's turn once per turn. If this character would be KO'd, you may place 3 cards from your trash at the bottom of your deck in any order instead. It's a sticky body. Get it? Sticky? I've seen that part of the anime. It's a body that's going to be able to stick onto the field, right? Especially because with your trash buildup potential that you have with stuff like your leader effect, you're more than likely going to be able to get this off. You just got to be a little bit careful on what characters you actually put back, right? Because you may not be able to fulfill your Mr. 2 Bon Clay effect. I think I'd play a couple copies of him. We've got Mr. 4 here, the most forgettable in my opinion of the Mr. and Miss 1 through 5s, whatever. He's a 4 cost 5,000 power 1k counter blocker with also an on KO effect of adding a character with cost of 8 or less with the type including Baroque works from your trash to your hand. This very good, and we'll talk about an 8 cost. Is he an 8 cost? We'll talk about an 8 cost character later in this with the secret rares that works perfectly with this card. But first, let's talk about Mr. 5, a 5 cost 6,000 power 1k counter blocker, but has an on play of if there's a character with cost of 0 or a character with cost of 8 or more, you draw 2, trash 1. I think a lot of times is the perfect combination into Mr. 2 Bon Clay, right? Being able to cheat out a 5 cost or less could be this Mr. 5 right here, and then so long as you fulfill those conditions, you could just draw 2, trash 1, right? It's basically a net 1 draw if you get this guy from the trash. Definitely very nice. We've got Mr. 9 here, a 2k counter vanilla, 5 cost 6,000 power, but also a card that a lot of people are confused about because this actually helps something like Emu, right? It's a 1 cost event, so according to Emu's leader effect, you can play this card. And on the main, you may rest 2 of your Dawn cards, additionally 3 in total, and if you do, you negate the effect of one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 5 or less during the turn. It's like a cheaper black hole, right? Negating a character and then KOing a 4 cost or less. But also on the counter, if you just use this as a 1k counter event, if you have 10 or more cards in trash, up to one of your leaders and character cards gains plus 4,000 power during the battle. Think about Emu, man. Think about Emu being able to not only have access to another plus 4,000 power 1 Dawn counter event, but also being able to like negate blockers, being able to negate different effects on your opponent's side of the field, like protection effects, things of that nature. This card is good, and I think it's just going to be like a generically good black card. You've got Hurry Up and Make Me the Pirate King. This is basically a 1-drop Thriller Bark Searcher event. Crescent Cutlass is a 1 cost event that has 2 different effects. One, it's the plus 3,000 power to your leader during the battle, but on the main phase, if there's a character with cost of 0 or a character with cost of 8 or more, all of your characters with the type including Baroque works gain plus 3 cost until the end of your opponent's next turn. This may feel a little bit weird, but like I was talking about with protection against removal cards, could be really nice to be able to do that, or maybe gain some additional effects, right? Think about using the Crescent Cutlass to be able to boost up a character to 8 and then going in with a Mr. 5 to be able to draw 2, trash 1. The final black card that we have is Disappointed, a 1 cost main of looking at the top 3 for a Baroque works kind of card, then trashing the rest. Also, the Thriller Bark event also trashes the rest. Our final color of this video, we've got yellow, starting off with Absalom, a 3 cost 5,000 power brick for the Thriller Bark category. On KO, look at the top 3 cards from the top of your deck, reveal a Thriller Bark Pirates type card, add it to your hand, place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Is just a pretty solid 5,000 power searcher guy, especially with on KO and you being able to control that a little bit with either your leader effect or just naturally in battle. If you want to as well, utilizing the trigger, you play a Thriller Bark Pirate type character with a cost of 4 or less from your trash rested, being able to recur different things like Absalom, Dr. Hogback, Perona, Ryuma. You've got Ors here, which is a vanilla 8 cost 10,000 power 1k counter Thriller Bark giant. Kumasi, which is a 1 cost 2,000 power 2k vanilla Thriller Bark with a trigger, by the way, of playing a Thriller Bark type character with a cost of 4 or less from your trash rested. So very similar to Absalom, you could have a couple bodies in here that play out like 4-cost bodies. Now, for the Amazon Lilies and Kuja Pirates stuff, we've got this 2-cost 0-power Gloriosa. It's got a 1k counter on it. On play, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, and then add 1 card from your hand to the top of your life cards, with a trigger of playing the card. So not only with the trigger do you get to play the card, but you also get to switch one of your life cards. And by the way, with your blue-yellow Boa Hancock leader, you played a card on your opponent's turn, so you get to draw a card. You're going to start seeing a theme. Now, this Gecko might be one of the best SRs in my opinion. Hayakin Serena never misses, I feel like. An 8-cost 10,000 power character, big guy. On play, you play up to 1 Thriller Bark Pirates type character with a cost of 4 or less from your trash, or you add it to the top of your life cards face up, giving you the flexibility of putting it either in your life for a potential trigger to happen, or just play it out on the field, swarm the board, get a couple bodies out there. He also has the play a character with a cost of 4 or less from your trash. This one not rested though. A lot of synergy with 4 costs in this deck already, as you can see. We've got the Gorgon Sisters, a 6-cost 5,000 power 2k counter 7 Warlords of the Sea Kuja Pirates type card. Activate main once per turn. You reveal 3 cards with the Amazon Lily or Kuja Pirates type from your hand. And if you do, give your leader and all your characters up to 1 rested Dawn card each. Especially, like I mentioned earlier, having a maximum of 6 different leaders and characters on the field, that's reutilizing 6 Dawn, which is already a ton of value. That's the same amount of value you get for playing this character down. But it's also got a trigger that if your leader is Kuja Pirates, you play the card, and guess what? Because of your leader effect, draw 1 card. And wow, look at this Salome right here. At 3-cost 1,000 power 1k blocker with a trigger, play this card. There's a lot of cards in the Boa Hancock deck in yellow that just say play this card, and we're not even halfway through them. We've got a Shaku Yaku here, 6-cost 5,000 power 2k counter. On play, if your opponent has 3 or less life cards, draw 2, trash 2 from your hand. A nice, simple filter effect, right? As we talked about with a couple of the black cards. And if your leader has the Kuja Pirates on the trigger, play this card. Now, Silver's Rayleigh is a 6-cost former Roger Pirates 6,000 power card. On play, if your leader is multicolored and your opponent has 3 or less life cards, you K up to one of your opponent's characters with 7,000 base power or less. This could be really interesting. I don't exactly know where this would fit, right? Because your leader has to be multicolored, so it's not like a generic card that you can play in something like a Nell. There's got to be a use for this in the near future, right? Like, they don't expect you to play this in Boa Hancock, right? Also, am I crazy, or like, I feel like Shaku Yaku in the OP12 version looked older than this Shaku Yaku in OP14, because Silver's Rayleigh is an old man here. I gotta catch up on the anime. We've got this Victorious Injury, a 3-cost 1,000 power blocker with a 1k counter. It's also got a trigger though of, you guessed it, playing a Thriller Park type character with a cost of 4 or less from your trash as rested. This Dr. Hogback also has that effect, but he has an on KO effect as well of playing a character card with a cost of 4 or less and a trigger other than Dr. Hogback from your trash. Okay, we're just going to play everybody. You get to play a 4-cost or less rested. You get to play a 4-cost or less rested. You get to play a 4-cost or less rested. But don't worry, so does Perona. The final Thriller Bard character that we have in this set has an on-play and on KO effect of up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less cannot attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. If they choose to ignore this character, voila, you can use your leader effect to proactively KO this character to force your opponent to say, oh no, I can't KO my own characters. Boa Hancock's a 9-cost, 10,000 power character, 7 Warlords of the Sea Kuja Pirates. She has an on-play. If your leader has the 7 Warlords of the Sea type, you add 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life, and then add up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life cards to their hand. So just like the 9-cost Jewelry Bonnie, light burning a life in exchange for Rush, this Boa Hancock heals you 1 and forces your opponent to take one. Little different than the 10-drop Lin, right? Because that's burning a life. This one is putting a life into your hand. You still get to keep the card. You just don't get to trigger it or anything. But this 9-cost Boa Hancock also has a trigger on it. Play up to one character with a 6,000 power or less and a trigger from your hand. What is up with all these bodies in this set just playing out cards? There are so many bodies that just play out cards in this set, especially in yellow. Yellow is all about just out these other characters. This Marguerite, though, is a 3-cost 5,000 power character. On play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal an Amazon Lily or Kuja Pirates type, add it to your hand, put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order, and then trash one card from your hand, very similar to Saint Shalria. So don't forget to do that. Also with a trigger that if your leader is the Kuja Pirates type, play the card. And then your leader effect says, draw one. We've got Ran here of the Kuja Pirates, 4-cost 5,000 power, 1k counter character. Activate main once per turn. You give a rested Dawn card to one of your Kuja Pirates type leader or character cards. And then on the trigger, you can play this card if you have a Kuja Pirates leader, just like everybody else. The Rested Dawn is actually super impactful, right? Because if you remember, Boa Hancock with the potential to have your opponent just take a lot of life throughout the game very quickly, that is a Dawn ×1 effect. So, especially with an Activate main, this is a super easy way to get that Dawn on your leader. We've also got Rindo here. 5-cost, 5,000 power, 1k counter. Opponent's turn on KO. You add one card from the top of your deck to the top of your life, and then you take 1 damage. This is basically a really roundabout way, in my opinion, to say draw 1. I'm really curious, though, when you take 1 damage, and I've never thought about this until now, when you take 1 damage specifically in this wording, do you have to take the top life? I know like in the game when your opponent swings at life, they are always swinging at the top life. But when you take 1 damage, can you take 1 card from your deck to put on the top of your life and then take 1 damage to the bottom of your life? I don't know if there's any judges or anything that have made it this far in the video. First of all, thank you, because this video is going to be like an hour and a half long. But also, let me know, because I'm really curious about that. Either way, it's basically like a roundabout draw 1. Going off into the events for yellow, we've got Salamander, a 4-cost counter event. Up to one of your leaders or characters gains 2,000 power during the battle, then play up to 1 Amazon Lily or Kuja Pirates type character card with a cost of 4 or less from your hand with a trigger, draw 1 card. This also works really well with your leader effect, right? Because if you play out 1 card onto the field, you played a character onto the field during your opponent's turn, which means draw 1 card. We've got Brickbat as well for the Thriller Bark Pirates. It's a counter event. Up to one of your Thriller Bark Pirates type leaders or characters gains plus 3,000 power during the battle. Plus with a trigger, you guessed it, they couldn't get any more creative than this. Play a cost 4 or less Thriller Bark Pirate type character from your trash. You'll Frighten Me, I've started to see, is a pretty good card that I'm seeing in a lot of different Boa lists specifically. It's a 1-cost counter event. If you have 2 or less life, up to one of your opponent's active characters cannot attack during the turn, with the trigger of playing a character with 6,000 power or less and a trigger from your hand, activating your draw 1 on opponent's turn. But anyways, this could be a really interesting card, because if you're at 2 or less life, this is any active character. It does not have any cost restriction, does not have any power restrictions, does not have any color restrictions, name restrictions. This is anything that's active that wants to swing probably in that turn. You can stop a 10,000 power character. You can stop a Goldie Roger or something of the sort. I don't know. Going into the 2 secret rares and the final 2 cards, because I have to go to bed. It's like 1 a.m. This is a 9-cost, 10,000 power Dracul Mihawk. Your turn. When this character is rested, which, by the way, if you remember Dracul Mihawk's leader effect, can be because of his leader effect. Up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 9 or less cannot be rested until the end of your opponent's next turn, negating a block, negating an attack, any reason they would be rested. Can't do it anymore. 9 cost is basically the entire game. He also has an on opponent's attack once per turn. If you trash a card from hand, up to one of your leaders or characters gains plus 2,000 power during the battle. Basically, similar to something like Portgas the Ace, right? Red, blue, and OP14. You can pitch just a random brick in your hand to be plus 2,000 power or minus 2,000 power, or whatever you want to think of it as, during a battle. Good card. Crocodile. This is the 8-cost Crocodile that I was talking about earlier. A 10,000 power character with 2 different effects. The first one, an on-play effect. This is so funny. I can't wait to tell you guys this. On play, up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 9 or less cannot attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. Then, if your opponent has a character with cost of 0 or with a cost of 8 or more, draw 1 card. More than likely, when you are playing this guy down, your opponent has an 8-cost or more character on the field, and if not, you can trash one of your Baroque Works characters to make them -10, which will put them to a 0, so more often than not, he is replacing himself in the hand. But if you want to utilize the on KO effect of this Crocodile, you can trash 1 card from your hand to play this card from your trash, which, by the way, you could have like basically this infinite freeze loop with Crocodile, right? You go ahead, play him on the field, says, okay, 9-cost character, you cannot attack. By the way, I'm going to draw 1 card. Then your opponent does some things, heads into your turn. You can swing 10,000 power with this Crocodile, use the activate main to KO the Crocodile, activate his on KO effect by pitching the 1 card that you drew last turn on the on play effect to get him back up as active on the field, right? He's not a rested character anymore. He is back active on the field. And by the way, you get to once again utilize the on play effect of saying this 9-cost or less character cannot attack, and I will draw 1 card. It is a never-ending cycle. It is so funny. I love this combination. I like the Crocodile deck. I love the Doflamingo deck. It's my favorite deck coming out of the set. But I'm really excited to see what people do with Crocodile, especially because it doesn't even have to be based on your leader effect that you can loop this character, right? This on KO effect too. Let me tell you about this. This on KO effect as well can happen multiple times a turn, which means that the on play effect can happen multiple times a turn. That's pretty sweet. Probably not likely going to happen very many times if we're being honest here, but like, isn't that so cool? Oh, and that's it. That's all I got for you today. That's all I got for you. And it's like a 90-minute video talking about OP14. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And please, 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 if you made it this far, if you made it like 90 minutes to 2 hours or whatever into this video, please consider subscribing to help out the channel a lot. I've got a little bit of OP14 content planned and a lot of cool OP13 content planned, especially heading into the holidays and stuff. And also make sure to go check out my second channel as well if you want to watch One Piece along with me. I'm doing like a react series to One Piece because I'm starting to grind through. I'm in Ennis Lobby right now and I'm trying to watch the episodes. And so you guys can see my reactions to stuff. Anyways, that's all for me. I'll see you later.